Welcome to Beyond the Art, where creativity knows no bounds and innovation takes center stage. Join us on a captivating journey through the realms of the Native American art world, exploring the untold stories, inspirations, and the sheer brilliance that fuels the world of indigenous artistry. Well, welcome to Beyond the Art, and today we have as our guest Kayla Lookinghorse. Welcome to the show, Kayla.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, why don't you go ahead and share with us your journey into the world of fashion design and how your Native American heritage has influenced your work?
Absolutely. Well, I think it's always great to start off the conversation by introducing myself in my Lakota language, as I am a member of the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe. Hamadakiapi, Le'apatuki, Iuha Chante Washtena Bet Yuzapi, Kayla Wayankila Lookinghorse Imanchiapi. I greet you all with a warm, heartfelt handshake. My name is Kayla Wayankila Lookinghorse. My brand is Kay Lookinghorse, and I am Hunkpapa, Lakota, Dakota, a member of the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe, like I had mentioned. And my brand is primarily inspirational and inspired by who I am and my family. So you'll see interworkings of beadwork, implementations of quillwork, and some techniques, sewing that have been traditionally handed down.
Fantastic. What cultural elements or traditional aspects do you often incorporate into your designs, and how do you feel balance between tradition and modern fashion trends?
So I want to just introduce the concept of my logo. First of all, I think that it'll help kind of tie everything together. I have a logo that's very simple. It has 3 lines stacked upon each other. And the representation for that is past, present, and future. So for the past, I look at a lot of our old black and white images and listening to the stories that were told. For me personally, the designs I create, I start out with geometric design. So a lot of the Lakota influences are seen in my design. So I'll have geometric teepees, a lot of other different geometrics. I was tapping into my masculinity a little bit with a lot of the geometrics and the blues and everything. And only recently started incorporating more of my Dakota heritage, which is more the floral, a little more gentle, softer tones, earth tones. So what you'll see in my work that's significantly and distinguishably different is my iconic pattern. So I have particular pattern prints that I utilize throughout my collections. And that speaks to sustainability because as Indigenous
Wonderful.
people, we think about some of the past techniques that we've utilized when it comes to adorning ourselves in dresses or regalia, and a lot of that has to do with sustainability. So to kind of tie everything in together, I have utilized that same concept in a modern technique to bring people to a contemporary aspect. So my clothing is a little more edgy on the, very contemporary side, speaking to the future. So it's kind of a whole song and dance to get to know my brand and, just who I am, because the brand is represented by the designer. And for me, I don't live on the territory, and I live on another territory in the East Coast, but I get inspiration from everything. So, I just feel like we're in a time where you want to enjoy the clothes that you're wearing, but you also want to feel empowered and you want to follow or be a part of a story. And my story is just wanting people to value Indigenous design for its authenticity and looking at it from the point of view that it's a luxury item, because a lot of these pieces are, utilized in like our energy, the time that we put into it. So it falls into that couture, that bespoke, and a lot of that has a value that is not necessarily brought to the forefront. So I think by creating a brand that you want that to kind of stand and represent itself is so important. And So I've utilized like a variety of ready to wear all the way up to some, bespoke one of a kind items. So that's kind of what differentiates my designs and my brand
Could you
today.
highlight could you highlight some key pieces from your collection that hold significant cultural or personal meaning to you?
I had a recent collection called the Empowerment Piece Collection, and in it there were a pattern of elk teeth, so the elk
Mm-hmm.
ivories, and that is a significant representation for wealth within the Midwestern communities. And the elk teeth, you get 2 ivories per one elk. So the more elk ivories that you had on your dress meant the more distinguishable you were amongst,
Right.
the hunters and the community, and they honored you. And so that was one way to show a sense of like, honor.
Mm-hmm.
So that pattern itself, those are some of the things that you'll see in my work from like the Seneca dress. If you look at that, it has that pattern print. It has the TP designs. And that one for me is very significant because it kind of comes from my own family heirloom design,
Mm-hmm.
that I've structurally changed a little bit, but it'll still consistently be the same for my particular brand. So that's one teaching for what I'm learning is each family had particular designs. So it's not just wojapi and nothing is like all mixed up, where you're taking this and this and this. It's actually very particular to a particular family, a particular region, that the designs become distinguishably different.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see that in my work as time goes. I'll continue to utilize particular designs and in an effort for like sustainability to kind of speak to that. So
How'd you get started in fashion design? What was the key moment in your life that says, this is what I'm going to do?
so during COVID, I took that opportunity to kind of find myself and develop some skill set into 3D rendering and thinking about how do I come out as a fashion designer? Like, what's going to be, what does that look like? And I was super excited about it. I did a lot of research, I did a lot of preparation.
Mm-hmm.
And I had an unfortunate event in my life that pushed that for me, which I lost my aunt, who was like a mother to me. And I happened to be pregnant at the time that I lost her. And I think
Oh, I'm
that
sorry.
that huge, significant loss,
Right.
it just kind of made me think about how precious our life is and how much we want to be able to live it, and
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it and she would want me to represent myself. She was so excited when she seen my design. So everything I've been putting out are stuff that she already had seen. And she was just like, I can't wait to wear your stuff. So then losing her, I just worked. I honestly took that grief and I turned it into something powerful that was motivating. Because, as much as I miss her, I think that it speaks so profoundly to women's ability,
Mm-hmm.
our ability to hold on to love, and we know like they are watching over us, and
Absolutely.
that's a part of like having a spiritual upbringing is understanding that connection between your loved ones here on this
Mm-hmm.
earth or in the next world. So I think that I, was able to take that and use it for good. And that was really that push to do it. Like that scary feeling of, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it and it's going to be amazing.
So you are a risk taker. You do like a
Absolutely.
challenge. So
Yes.
what was being a Native American fashion designer always on the forefront instead of going to mainstream? Did you want to incorporate your heritage? Was that the main purpose as well?
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. It was creating representation.
Mm-hmm.
It was finding a way to bring I'm like an activist at heart. I always think about the importance of our culture and our heritage. And one way to connect to so many different people on a global scale is going to be fashion, because
It's
everybody
true.
wears it. It's always, it's always moving. But one thing that always stays the same are those favorite pieces. And one shift I think that society is kind of realizing is a value system. Like, I feel like that fast fashion is really like kind of getting pushed out. And I think the new
Hmm.
thing is sustainability. The new thing is value, and not just trend, but more so a connection
Hmm.
to stories, right? And to
True.
share those experiences.
Absolutely.
So if you're inspired by somebody and they inspire you and their story, is relatable, you want to be a part of that. And so maybe you're going to buy one of my dresses. I don't
Right.
know. Or maybe you won't buy my dress, but maybe
Maybe
you'll
not
buy like
me.
a sweater or a t-shirt.
There you go. So
So
when you first launched, what was the response and what were you surprised most by of the response when you launched your first collection?
I literally was so just taken back because I released during New York Fashion Week. My initial collection got a huge response, and that print kind of just set into one of the classics. I felt that everybody just I was just like, oh wow, oh my god, like they see me, like they loved the stuff, because when you're creating it, you really don't know, like, is this
Right.
what people like? You just design because it's a passion, but you don't know if anyone's even gonna like it, So there's always that fear. But I was super happy with the result. I also had one of the biggest challenges during that time of releasing. I got hacked, and
Oh, wow.
I got hacked like major. So it took me like 3 months to recover and
Wow.
think like, all right, I'm just gonna have to start a whole new account and just do this from scratch. Okay, so then now this is
Wow.
my rebuilding up, my reintroduction to to say the least. But I think it had to happen that way. You know, I don't know what the
Hmm.
teaching in it was. I think it was just, you know, don't let your head get too big and stay focused. No.
Right. Well, plus I mean, having that happen, you really have to have the creative drive and energy to do it. And so you didn't give up.
Yeah, exactly. Surprised. I was surprised that there were so many challenges in the beginning, but it was all worth it. I
Yeah.
don't regret anything.
That's good. That's good. No regrets. No regrets. Uh, Fashion often intersects with identity. How do you see your designs contributing to a broader conversation about cultural representation and authenticity in the fashion industry, especially right now in this time with so much media focused on indigenous art and native people?
Oh yeah, we're under the microscope.
It's our time though. Hey, it's more than our 15
It
minutes.
is. It is
Yeah.
absolutely. I truly believe that you have to, when you think about representation, sometimes that's just not enough alone. Like, you
Hmm.
have to have your rich cultural history and stories all be a part of that representation and utilizing who you are and where you come from. So my designs are Lakota, Lakota, Dakota, because that's who I am. And there may be designers out there that are not particularly Lakota, Dakota, but they utilize that aesthetic. So it's kind of like you have to know who the designers are first and
Right.
see if that's a correct representation of who they are. Because you're going to find everybody's story is available out there for spotlight. So when somebody wants to know something about a particular person, it's all available. And you're going to see aesthetics from different people throughout Turtle Island that talk about representation, but it's actually not just talking about it, it's living it, it's showing it. And
Right.
it's really implementing your core value system, because at the end of the day, it comes down to integrity, and it comes down to making those decisions when nobody is around, and understanding that if you know that you have got inspiration from something, or that this design is not particularly yours, then I think
Hmm.
that, at the end of the day, like, you shouldn't put it out there.
Right.
That's just my personal opinion. And I just know that, my particular stuff are just Lakota, Dakota influence because that's who I am. So,
It's part of your DNA, part of your soul.
oh yeah, I have an inherent right to utilize the geometric designs, the blooming florals, and there's a real significant difference with Dakota florals in comparison to like Eastern florals. Ours are like up and down, like and then theirs are very much like vine, spread out. So when you know the difference, I think it's important to just look at representation in its true colors. So knowing the designer, is this accurate? Is this a correct representation? Otherwise, some apologies have to be made.
Right. Can you share any upcoming projects or initiatives aimed at showcasing Native American talent in the fashion world? And how are you involved in that?
Yes. So there is the Reservation Economic Summit that happens every year in Las Vegas. And I will be one of 3 or 4 designers. I'm not quite sure what the release is, but that is to highlight indigenous business throughout Indian country. And for me to have the opportunity to present my fashion to the like native excellence, indigenous excellence is a huge opportunity. But my role in it is to also bring the people that I know that are also in artistry and connected to, fashion through beauty. They're also connected through fashion, through music. And I think that, maybe their career is modeling or they're in movies themselves. All of that, bringing it forward to work together, speaks so profoundly to collaborations, what they look like, unity, and empowering each other.
Right.
Because we're no longer about mean girl, lateral violence. We're no longer about gatekeeping. There's such a shift in the future that I really want to emphasize how important it is that it comes back to all these things are all about fashion, music, beauty, all of that just is so intertwined. And I hope to be able to present that on that platform that is kind of makes waves in Indian country, because they're the business owners and CEOs are able to try to grow as well,
Right.
and
So
and
go ahead. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, is there going to be a fashion show at Res then?
Yes, there is going to be a fashion
Yeah.
show. It's going to be a fashion show, and that's how that's how it'll be showcased. But that's the only thing I have going on in the States right now. I do have Indigenous Fashion Arts, which is in Toronto. So that'll be my first show anywhere else. And there's a few things in the workings, but nothing is official. So I can't really, express, how much I'd want to be a part of those. But we'll see what happens in the future.
Nothing's in concrete, as they say, as of yet.
Yes.
Sustainability is a very important factor in Native American culture. How do you approach sustainability in your designs, considering both environmental and cultural aspects?
Okay. What I have done is I live in Southampton, New York. So the area that I live in is just very vast with materials. And so I have seen bolts of fabric at local stores that we're just going to get like thrown out, or they're just like, okay, well, we're done. And I've taken those bolts of fabric of wool and kind of re-dyed them or repurposed them and utilized them in my collections. So, we're no longer contributing to the waste aspect of it by utilizing some of these. And in the future, I hope to do something very similar to that, is kind of find fabric that I can repurpose, just dye it or change it a little, you know what I mean? And just recreate something. So that's one aspect to speaking to sustainability. Another one is utilizing the resources we have here domestically. So no longer getting merchandise, outsourced from another country, because we have everything that we need here, you know?
True.
Like, I think
Mm-hmm.
it was like what in the 70s, they used, 90% of the garments that were made here. So it just comes down to cost, you know? Yes, it's cheaper to get your stuff overseas, but also it just doesn't speak to me anymore. So I think,
Uh-huh.
it's a change that I want my kids to see that, you can do so much with what you have.
So what's
So
your
that's,
process? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I just said that's all.
That's all. Okay. What's your process from concept to execution in creating a line or a piece?
Yeah, so you know how I'm like this huge risk taker.
Uh-huh.
I just basically I create a design, and some people like sketch it out in pencil, and I honestly just use Sharpie, and I just like draw a design out, and I think about it, and I look at it, and if like I've ever dreamt about it before or something, and I can envision it being
Mm-hmm.
what it's going to be, a jacket, a dress, or whatever it's going to be, I just run with it. And I have the graphic artist create it, and then we color it along the way, and then I'm literally changing colors right before I'm putting it on clothing. So I just have, the process can be very quick, or it can
Mm-hmm.
it's more so creative and fun. It just kind of happens, and I'll switch out a whole collection right before it needs to go up. So
Oh, wow.
I I
That is
did
a risk
that
taker.
I did that with Phoenix Fashion Week. I just was like,
Wow.
I don't think this is enough. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to switch this whole thing up real quick, and just, this is what I'm going to do. And then I did it, and it turned out great.
There you go.
So it's having fun. It's enjoying the
Right.
process. And if you put too much stuff in front of you, like, oh, okay, I got to sketch it out this. I try to do mood boards, but I think, I'm just a whole mood anyway. So I'm just going to like do it along the way.
Do you do any private commissions on pieces for clients?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
do. That's what I started working on. That was my initial, before I started the brand, I was
Mm-hmm.
primarily just doing custom orders. And so I currently do have a small custom base. Other than that, it's more on a ready to wear scale right now.
So how many collections do you do? Do you do an annual or do you do seasonal?
I think I'm working more towards annual. I think
Mm-hmm.
because of the details that go into each piece, like take for instance this jacket, it has like a beaded patch here, which is,
Mm-hmm.
all of this takes time, hours to create. And so imagine creating that, over and over and over again. So I think it's my time is better served on doing an annual collection, so I can focus on sustainability. I can make sure that each piece has those very unique features, because if
Mm-hmm.
you're going to invest in a particular jacket or something, a lot of people want it just because nobody else can get it. So
Right.
it speaks to exclusive, very inclusive designs and patterns. So I think that for me works better with my pace, because I'm a mother. I am just doing, it's just a one woman show here with filling orders and emails, and, building the business and thinking about its growth. And so to, to just like keep up with the Kardashian type of mentality, like, doesn't work for me.
Right, right. So, how are you inspired? Do you do a lot of research into your cultural heritage, or does it just things that come to you that you grew up with knowing about your heritage?
It's actually just things that I've experienced in my life, and
Mm-hmm.
I can just go out running on the ocean and see a seashell and a piece of plastic laying there, and I just like, oh, I'm gonna do this color combination. So honestly, the inspiration is just constant for me.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like research, it gets very distracting to try to research too much into this and this and this, because those don't speak to my creative process. So creatively, I feel like I have everything that I need when it comes to design. from the stories that are inspiring this, and from just having a rich childhood with
Mm-hmm.
color matching, because my aunt Tracy, many wounds cast away, she was a master beadworker, and she did phenomenal work. And just working with her and my mother, who does quill work, those combinations together, like I just feel like I have everything I need. That I don't do as much research as I probably should, because my designs are just created out of dreams, or just out of just the energy of
Mm-hmm.
inspiration, or just the happiness that I feel. So I kind of go off of that.
So this goes hand in hand. What motivates you?
Yes, I'm extremely motivated by opportunities that I see on the horizon,
Mm-hmm.
goals, like wanting to be on the red carpet. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to make this magnificent dress that's going to look like this. Or, I set my goals to be not only realistic, but also like, you're dreaming big. Like, okay, I'm going to have a rack in Nordstrom at some point within, at this point. So it just happened to be I went to a designer retreat and actually got to visit a Nordstrom, and then got the actual email from the buyer at Nordstrom. I'm like, this
Fantastic.
is so meant to be. Like I just have this energy. I just feel like it's just really just living life, and just enjoying it. And that's been my inspiration and my drive since, just kind of really getting hit with reality and
Mm-hmm.
where I was in my life. And I'm like, okay, yeah, because I have a history or a experience in the medical field for so long, and then I just didn't find it fulfilling enough. So here I am,
Here you
creating
are
clothing.
with a
Yes.
brand all your own. So
hmm
let me ask you this: how do you want to expand your brand? What's on the horizon for you?
I plan to expand doing more suits. I think I want to speak more to the professional people that are building, because even myself, like I'm very more minimalistic. I have a blazer in every color, every fabric, every size range, because I have kids. So I have a stock, and I was like, I wear so many blazers myself. Like, I need to have my own line. Like, what would I want my body type to be? So I want to get into more suits. I want to get into more, like I talked about before, the sustainability, which would be more maybe a collection of 10 dresses. And this is what I
Mhm.
have, and just be very boutique-y in a way. If that's
Right.
that's not a word, but just have like that boutique mentality of every customer is going to get treated like this. Like, just have very much geared towards the customer itself, not just a very like basic bag and slap and go and here's your label, okay, bye.
Right.
It's more like, who are you? And here's who I am. And I just like to meet so many people in so many different walks of life, that it's important. I come
Mhm.
from a spiritual family, and I think sharing that same value system and implementing it into my brand is just, it's going to be amazing, and it supports not only my family, but it supports a community, because
Mhm.
start to change the mentality of how you look at things.
True.
So
Very true.
that's the hope anyway. That's the goal.
Will you be expanding anything beyond apparel or even a men's line?
Yes, I'm actually going to be doing men's line, because I feel like there's not enough. I have two sons. One of them he's going to be doing the junior PGA. He's a golfer.
Wow.
And the other one is a boxer. And I feel like I need to empower them a little more. So, of course, I have to do a men's line, because I've been woman power all this time. And now I'm like, okay, we need some balance here. We need
Fantastic.
some balance of uplifting our men, because they're the protectors, and I think a lot of times, like, people have forgotten their roles of protecting women, of being that gentleman. Like, I'm just like an old soul, and kind of just wants all these ideas to be like balled up and, in a man, like
Yeah.
a man should be. So I just kind of really want to expand that because they do need that upbringing. I mean, that inspiration just as much as
Mm-hmm.
women do. We've kind of just taken over with our energy and our power. But I think if we have a balance there, that's what it's about, you know, equality and being equal. And so men's line, I want to get into a spa line because I'm totally about self-care. I
Mm-hmm.
developed some robes before and I just like love them, but I want them to be in like mulberry silk or something, you know. I want like something that's super luxurious and loungy, but also has that indigenous representation. So yeah, spa, men's, maybe some swimwear. You know, we'll see because I live so close to the beach. I feel like
Right.
I should collaborate with somebody who's on the forefront of developing some amazing swimwear, which
There
I
you
have
go.
a person that I actually met during Phoenix Fashion Week. So we'll see what happens.
It's out there in the world now.
It is.
So where are you currently representative? How can someone go and look at your designs and purchase something?
You can visit my website, which is kaylookinghorse.com. I
Mm-hmm.
also have an Instagram account, which is k.lookinghorse. And my Facebook is Kayla Lookinghorse Smith.
Okay.
So I know it's super long. If I throw my Indian name in there, it's like Kayla, well, not Kayla, Lookinghorse Smith. Try to say that in one breath. Like,
Absolutely.
oh,
So,
but yes, those are some of the handles.
okay. When you started this journey, what are you most surprised about now that you didn't know and you wish you did know, and just along the way, this path and getting to your own success?
I think I would want to have prepared myself for the business aspect a little more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, creatively, I believe that I'm strong in that sense and coloring, you know, as far as like putting combination colors together. But I think when it comes to like the financial aspects of it, I wish I would have kind of did a little more research on marketing, on foundations that you're going to need for your business. So it's kind of like learn and go, you know, learning the hard way
Right.
sometimes. So I think that is one thing I wish, you know, I knew then. Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, this is if you're thinking about starting, start with your foundation, which is always going to be your money.
Mm-hmm.
Because in order for you to grow, you have to be able to, you know, build. And then what does that look like?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
that would
Would
be.
would would that be the same advice you give for another or aspiring Native Americans that are interested in becoming a fashion designer and going this path?
No, I want to say the most important aspect of wanting to get into fashion and design is consistency, because your first sketch might be crap and
Mm-hmm.
the colors you put together might not be like wow, you know, and you just got to keep practicing your technique to what you want it to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, you know, as far as remembering who you are and wanting that message to be seen. So the design should come from who you represent, your
From within,
tribe,
yeah.
you know, you do who, yes, what you want to share with the world. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's so much designers out there that are doing so many amazing things, you know, but at the end of the day, like I said, you have to have that, know who you are, where you come from, continue to keep your value system at heart, and just have integrity, you know, when you're creating your
Important
stuff,
factor.
because that, you know, that's going to be the number one drive is that intuition. When you have integrity
Mm-hmm.
and you do the right thing when nobody's around, you can understand that intuition is when you're creating, because if it doesn't feel right, then don't do it, you know. But if this feels right, a lot of that time it's just practice to get to it feeling right and drawing. I mean, because I was definitely not the best drawer, you know, of the models. They look like Lego people. And so now they're like very much like, oh, yeah, this is definitely a woman
Right.
wearing a gown. So it's just practice. You're probably gonna make mistakes. I'm making mistakes still, but I think
Trial and error.
recognizing that you make mistakes and then just consistency. So it's definitely not the same as financials, but it's always just staying true to who you are.
How do you envision the future of Native American representation and influence in the global fashion scene?
Oh, globally, I think at some point they're going to have to come to us to be able to partner with us for some of the collections. I think I can really see brands having representation in malls, and actually having storefronts and boutiques and that will address like the couture aspect of it. You don't see it enough on a global scale. You see inspirational designs, but you don't actually see like myself on, London, Paris, fashion week runway and, have like some big influential stars like wearing some of your creations. So, I mean, there's actually, I shouldn't say that because there's a lot of big influential stars wearing clothes. And I'm talking more about brands being in the same spaces as, Gucci, Valentino, how they have these shows that are just
the
like
luxury brands.
Yeah, I think that if we can get to that space of showing how Native American fashion is luxury and then what it looks like on that scale, and that is just gonna mean more dedication to those pieces that we already represent, the shell pieces. Maybe I don't know if we have to make it more extravagant or we just have to show the beauty of them, highlighted through storytelling. But I think the global aspect it's gonna come. I'm hoping myself to be
little by little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think myself, I have the potential to be somewhere this coming fall that's going to be out of the country. But yes,
well, there
that's
you go.
my goal.
Keep my fingers crossed.
Yes.
So what's next for Kayla Lookinghorse?
I honestly, right now, I'm working on my collection for Res and wanting to bring my family into it a little more. I have so many talented relatives that do sewing themselves, that do design work, that do graphics. And so I really want to make it more of like a family affair, because I think that they need as much empowerment as I do. And it's always great to have family around because nobody has your back like family does. So I think, that's one of the goals that I hope to really kind of set into motion for 2024. So
fantastic. And when is Res?
That is in March 11th to the 14th. Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, if you could create for one individual, who would you want to create for that one
Beyonce.
single piece? Oh yeah, really? You already have in your mind.
I would want to create for Beyonce. I literally was just thinking about that. I was like, okay, Beyonce. No. And why Beyonce? Because of just the growth that I've seen her have and the impact that she has on everybody. Whether they want to acknowledge it or not, I think Beyonce's been such like not just a trendsetter, but she's phenomenal for bringing like her daughter on stage. And I don't see any other artist doing the same thing, And if you look at some of my beginning of my fashion shows and you research Kayla Lookinghorse, I had my baby on my hip, all of my fashion shows. And the only one I didn't was Phoenix Fashion Week. But I didn't know that I could. I was like, I actually didn't even like think about it. And I had her there and I was like, I should have just brought her with me. But I was wearing heels and a really high dress. I was like, oh God, disaster. We're going to avert anything. So,
hey, maybe you should do baby clothes as well.
Oh,
then you can match.
I've actually have a mommy and me collection in motion, but I every time I try to finish it, she's already like way grown out of it. And I'm like, okay, so I would love to do a mommy and me collection. So maybe that's another thing that's on the horizon.
There
I
you go.
I need like 4 more of me to create what I want to create for 2024.
Well,
So,
Kayla, is there anything else you want to add and tell us about yourself?
no, I think we covered all bases. I mean, to be honest, like I just, appreciate the opportunity to be highlighted as one of the, featured designers on your podcast. I think it's amazing of kind of going beyond the art and finding out what the artist, does and inspired
Absolutely.
by. And this is just me, like, sharing my story, my portion of the indigenous fashion.
Well, we appreciate you and we appreciate your time. And thank you for coming on the show today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll talk soon. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you for embarking on this artistic journey with us. Keep exploring, keep creating. Until we meet again, let your imagination soar beyond the art. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on your preferred podcast platform.